these are all examples of trying to interpret confidence, but a lot of these are wrong for very subtle reasons sometimes. So the first one, 95% of the time, the number of hours people sleep is between 6.55 hours and 8.25 hours. This is actually wrong. And the reason it's wrong is it's talking about um, the um, the measurements. It's not saying that 95% of the measurements are in the interval. That's not what we mean. What we mean is that 95% of the intervals capture the correct measurement or the correct number. So confidence intervals don't contain 95% of the measurements. The next one, 95% of the confidence intervals constructed by this method will contain the mean number of hours that adults sleep at night. That is correct. Well, part of it is correct. It's the correct interpretation of confidence, but what happened to the interval? You still have to state the interval, right? It just says constructed by this method. Well, it doesn't give what numbers the method was coming up with. Okay, number 3. Finally, this is absolutely correct. We are 95% confident the mean number of hours that adults sleep at night is between 6.55 and 8.25 hours. So we've got the interval. It just says we're 95% confident. We're good to go. Number 4. You just stop me at any time if you need to, all right?
Okay.
We are 95% confident the mean number of hours that adults sleep at night is 7.4 plus or minus 0.85. This is also correct. It is just an alternate way of saying the interval. We did that on our last worksheet. Let's see, number 5, 95% of the confidence intervals we construct will give us the interval 6.558 to 8.25. Well, this is really saying that 95% of the time we're going to get exactly that interval. And that's not true. The interval is going to be all over the place. Especially when you're talking about 2 decimal places. So so it's wrong. You usually get different results every time. In other words, there's nothing particularly special about the numbers 6.55 and 8.25. That just happened to be the results of an experiment. See, so what was I going to say? Usually get different results each time. Okay, number 6. There's 95% probability that the mean number of hours that adults sleep is between 6.55 and 8.25 hours. The problem here, this is wrong. The problem here is the word probability. You're saying probability for something that might or might not have already happened. So that's not really what we mean by probability. So probability, the word probability, after an event has either occurred or it hasn't. Okay, number 7. If 100 random samples of the given size are picked and a 95% confidence interval is calculated from each, then the mean number of hours that adults sleep will be in approximately 95 of the resulting intervals. There's a piece of this that's correct. This is the correct confidence. Because when you saying you did it 100 times and 95 of the resulting intervals worked, then that is 95%. That's what we're talking about. However, again, where's the interval? The interval is not stated. But where's the interval? So by now, after having done 7 of these things, you can see that the percentage, making sure the percentage says exactly what it means to say, and also getting the correct interval are the 2 keys. Number 8, we are 95% certain that the number of hours that adults sleep is 7.4 hours with a margin of error of 0.85 hours. There's parts of this that are correct. I mean, it's implying the interval by saying 7.4 and 0.85. It's got the percentage in there, but its focus is on the 7.4 hours. And in other words, if we just stop the sentence right at the comma, that's definitely not right. 7.4 is too exact a number. We don't have confidence in numbers. We have confidence in intervals, in a range of numbers. Then they did tack on the 0.85. So this is a very clumsy way of saying it. We want to avoid this. It emphasizes 7.4 too much. So what I say is wrong. It's bad form. Let's call it that. And number 9, this 95% confidence interval is an interval computed from sample data by a method that has a 95% probability of producing an interval containing the true number of hours that adults sleep. Well, by now, it should be obvious what the problem is. Where's the interval? This is not saying what the interval is. It's too wordy at the beginning, but, you know, it does technically interpret it correctly. But again, what'd you say? Wrong. But where's the interval? Number 10, this confidence interval consists of values determined from sample information. Associated with this interval is a 95% level, which measures one's confidence that the number of hours that adults sleep lies within 6.55 hours and 8.25 hours. This answer dances around the correct interpretation. You could say maybe it's half right. It doesn't really nail what it should say. This confidence interval consists of plausible values for the number of hours that adults sleep. That's really what we're saying. So let's just call this one a half credit. Needs revision. Now you can avoid this whole problem if you look at the ones that were correct. In fact, I would say Stick to number 3. Number 3 is the best of the bunch. This is really what we mean when we're talking about confidence intervals. So all you've got to do is remember there's 2 things, or really 3 things you need to fill in for numbers. You need to have your percentage of confidence, the lower half, or the lower endpoint and the upper endpoint. And then, of course, there's context here. What is the problem about? It's about adults sleeping, and that's included in the statement. If you can nail those aspects, then you've got it right.